I promised you I'd give you a little more information about this planer. We got it unloaded yesterday, and I've got some time-lapse video of me unloading that, a little disclaimer at the beginning saying that if you're not comfortable moving anything this big and this heavy or any piece of machine tool, have a rigger do it for you. You know, that's what they do all the time. But it's also not that difficult. There's a lot of muscle in something this big that has to be applied, and I had my son with me when we loaded this onto the trailer, and without him I'd probably still be there trying to load it on the trailer, because I had a plan to load it and I felt like it was a pretty good plan, but it needed a little more muscle than I was able to supply. So I'm glad he was there to help me. Now I unloaded it myself. I already had one comment on the Randmeyer Carpenter lathe video saying, well, I hope you're not moving that machinery yourself. I actually prefer to move this stuff by myself, because I don't have to worry about anybody else. You know, I've done enough of this over the years that you have to be vigilant all the time and make sure that you're not in the way of anything that's going to run over you when it decides that it wants to occupy the space that you did not approve of to occupy. So if I've got somebody else helping me, while I appreciate the help, a lot of the times it's more of a distraction to me, because I have to worry about where they are and what they're doing. You know, so with me, it's just me. If I get run over, I consider it a terrible accident, but it's just me that gets hurt. It's not somebody else that I've been responsible for that's been trying to help me out. So that's why I prefer to move this stuff myself. I unloaded it, like I say. I'll show you the little time lapse, and I'm just going to let that run. I had about 3 clips there because I stopped for lunch, and it took me probably about 3 hours to get it down onto the ground to where it is now, basically. It's still got to move on back and into position, but I've got to move some other stuff out of the way too to get it there. So that's the next project, and I'll be working on that today. It's Saturday morning, and sun's out. We've got some glare. We're supposed to have thunderstorms later today, so I want to get this shot for you. So anyway, the story on this planer, and I know some information about the planer itself, although not a whole lot. I've actually owned this planer for 19 years, and I bought it at auction. I bought it off of eBay, and we got it transported and set in a temporary place, and life changes, and I didn't have access to it. So, and I wasn't sure I was going to have access to it. So to be able to get it down here and back under my control, I am super excited. This is a machine that's going to be put to work. I've got several projects in mind for this, and I'm really, really excited. So stuff like the Randmeyer Carpenter lathe, while I've got it here, and it's an exciting project, it's going to go in line behind this. This is going to be something that I'm going to tinker with. I don't know how much I'm going to show you until we really get into it, because I'm still trying to do shop remodel and stuff, but once we get there, I'm excited to have this planer. We'll get it cleaned up. And so the story on this is, the backstory that I know to it, since I've owned it, is I bought this at auction. It came off of eBay, and it came out of the cyclotron shop at University of Washington. I don't know if it still is or not at that time. That was their nuclear research facility for University of Washington, and I know virtually nothing about it other than that, although when we were over there picking this up, they had a really complete shop, and they of course moved on to other equipment, but I bought it from them, so that's a little bit of the history there. And I bought it in February of 2001. That's when I bought it. It's been sitting in a covered machine shed that's got open sides with a tarp over it, and other than the paint really peeling off of it, looks like about 4 coats of different colored paints, which a lot of that I'm sure is good lead-based paint, the stuff that good paints are made of. So other than the paint peeling off of it, we've got surface rust on it. I don't see any real etching. It appears to me, and I always say that any piece of used equipment is not in excellent condition. I consider this to be in very good condition. Like I say, other than paint peeling off of it, and I stopped at the car wash on the way home and power washed it off. It was pretty ugly. But we got a lot of the loose paint off of it. It's going to get cleaned up a little bit more, and we'll repaint it. That'll be one of the first projects for it. But as far as the machine surfaces and the the stuff that is exposed, all the ways and the gibs and everything, they appear to be in very good shape. I've already cleaned up a little bit on the V-ways down inside. They've got a surface rust on them. They clean up very easily. I sprayed them down with a little WD-40 and hit it with some Scotch-Brite, and they polish right up. I shot a little clip of that I'll throw in here someplace. And most of that stuff is just clips that aren't narrated, you know. It's kind of hopefully for your viewing enjoyment. So, and I cleaned up the sides of the ways and things like that. When you, or the sides of the table, when you look at some of the stuff higher up here, up on the upper surfaces, and we're going to get a lot of sun now, I'm sure, and I don't have a good view of it, so hopefully it won't be too bad here. We're supposed to have rain showers this afternoon, so I want to get this shot for you guys. When we look at the machine surfaces here and here, and on the vertical surfaces, and even the cross-light and everything, you can still see some of the flaking. It cleans up very nicely, you know, not a big deal. There's a few places that have got a little heavier staining on them, nothing really etched heavy. And as I remember, and from looking at some of the original pictures I have of it, why it had a little bit of staining to start with. So I think for as long as it sat basically exposed, why it's in very good condition. So we'll be cleaning all that up and seeing what we can do and make it pretty again. I hope anyway. Before it went to university, it has a Navy tag on it, and it was Navy property. I'm assuming that's where University of Washington got it from, was Navy surplus, Navy auction, something like that. And I've got a relative that's been in the shipyard over there for years and years, so we've got pictures and stuff over there, and they're tracking it a little bit for me. They were waiting for the Naval Museum to open back up because we think that maybe they'll have some information on it. It's got Navy property tag on it, and it's old enough it doesn't really tell us a whole lot. I guess that tag indicates it was a minor property tag, which they valued stuff more than $5,000 up to I don't know what was got a minor property tag on it. So you got that. It's also got a State of Washington tag, which I would imagine they acquired it from the Navy, and that's when it went to University of Washington, is my guess. Some sort of a state-funded program, or Navy-funded program. I don't know exactly. I don't know what the history is, but it'll be interesting to see what we can find. I do have a print with this, and it's one blueprint that was from this machine. It's dated 1951, so I'm going to say it was built in that era. I still got to track down information on it. I need information about what oils were used in the lubrication system, how much, and all that type of thing. So we're tracking that information. Let's see, what else do I have for you about the history of this? We have had it running. When we first got it home, I had a phase converter, which I'll be rebuilding again. I've robbed it for smaller phase converters, and we'll get it running. So the planer has been run. It ran real well, and it needs a little bit of attention now, but not a tremendous amount to have it functional. Like I say, it's in what I consider to be pretty good condition. We've got one of the oil cups that's got a Gitz oiler on the motor, and it's a 10 horsepower motor. One of the Gitz oilers was broken off, and we broke it when we moved it home. I'll have to put it back on. When we loaded it, the other oiler for the motor was leaking oil, so it's still got, and it was good clean looking oil, so it's still got oil in it. We'll change all of that as we go along here. The controls are free for the most part. I noticed the clapper box is a little bit stiff, but it works as it should. There's nothing seized up on it that I found so far. The shifter levers behind me are all free. I hadn't messed with them at all, and yesterday I started playing with them a little bit, and they're all of them were free. They pulled out just about that easy and re-engaged. So 3-phase 10 horsepower motor. Here's our clutch assembly, and that's engaged, and that's stop, or it's got a brake on it. Power feed on everything, with the exception of the top slide angle adjustment. It's manual, I believe, but vertical and traverse is all power both ways. And that's pretty much it, I guess. Otherwise, it's pretty cool old technology. Got some sight glasses back there for lubrication. They'll have to be cleaned up and adjusted. Like I say, a lot of little stuff to it, but nothing major. I do have a flyer that came off of Vintage Machinery's website, and that's the only place I've really found information on it, and shows the print. They built this particular model in, from what I understand, a 26 and a 26 and a 36 inch model. This is the bigger one. This is a 36 inch model. 36 inch capacity. Got a 36 inch stroke. 30 inch horizontal travel of the tool. Vertical travel of the tool is 9 inch, but vertical adjustment of the cross rail is 24 inches on this model. A lot of little stuff. Length of the table is 58 inches. Is the full length of it. 21 inches wide. The working surface of the table is 21 by 44. Let's see, 4 inch thick table. 12 inch table adjustment. I'm assuming that's where it's positioned in that 36 inch stroke. 74 inches long for the machine itself. Strokes per minute 9 to 45. Gives gear ratios, 11 feeds, horizontal and vertical. Maximum tool size is 3/4 by 1.5 inches. I do have a fair amount of tooling with this. We've got several hold downs that go to the table, and their planer clamps will dig all that out. The wrenches I got 3 or 4 or 5 wrenches that went with it. I'm not sure if I've lost them, if I've still got them in a box, or if they were with the planer and they got misplaced over the years. Not a big deal, but it would have been nice to have them. Got several tool holders. There's 4 or 5 tool holders. Part of them are a factory tool holder, part of them are shop built. Everything's built very nicely. Several tool bits. Let's see, what else do we have with it? I do have a straight edge that goes with it, and it was not included in the auction. When we loaded this up, and the seller apparently had bought this as a lot, as some sort of he purchased it from University of Washington, and then he turned around and was flipping it on eBay, and it was still in place in the cyclotron shop. That's where we picked it up, and he knew virtually nothing about it. It was sitting about 80 feet back into the shop, and we were told we needed a forklift to load it, and we had to provide the labor, and of course he wanted to provide a rigger for us and everything. We grabbed onto a trailer and went over and put an electric winch on it, which is how I actually loaded it here, was with an electric winch, or when we loaded it this time to move it down here. And a couple of come-alongs, and then we had some mechanical jacks. So we went over, hooked the winch onto it, ran the cable back into the building. We lifted it up with a couple of pinch bars, got some rollers under it, and we just winched it out into the lot. And we already had it up enough we could get our jacks underneath it. We just jacked it up and blocked it up, and we had probably 18 inches to raise it to get it on the trailer. No ramps or anything on that trailer, and we just jacked it up until we got it up to the right level. Kept blocking it, and there again, take your time, and was real careful with it. Make sure we had it level and balanced, and blocked it up under each corner. And once we got it up to proper height, we could get the end of the trailer underneath one end of it and slid some rollers underneath there, and just carefully kept winching the two of them together until we had it onto the trailer. It took us about probably, well, they opened up at 10. We could get up between 10 and 4, and we were there at 10 o'clock. We were done by 1. I was strapping it down by 12:30 or 1 o'clock. The seller came in and said, "Well, where's your forklift?" And we said we didn't have, or I told him we didn't have a forklift. We just lifted it up and did it. So we saved that rigging cost, and that's a major expense there if you're moving a piece of equipment. And we towed it home. We estimated it at that point to be about 5,000 pounds. We thought we were right at the capacity of the trailer, and now I know we were well over the capacity of that trailer. So we won't get into that one way or the other, but we used what we had available to us, and we got it moved just like I did to get it down here. So, but anyway, when we picked it up, why the straight edge that the shop foreman gave us with it was designed for this table, and I think it's about 3 inches tall, 3.5 inches tall, and about 2.5 inches wide, and cut to match the T-slots. So we've got a nice straight edge with it, and I kept it tucked away. It's nice and clean sitting back there in the shop, and kept it in hopes that I was going to be able to put it back on this planer. So we've got that, and not a tremendous amount of stuff, but we've got enough to where we can machine with it. We've got a machine that once it's running, we're not scrambling for tooling to get it started initially. So we've got a pretty good setup. How long University of Washington had it, I don't know. Like I say, it was in the cyclotron shop. They used it for several years, and as of 2001, the listing for it said that it hadn't been run for several years because they moved on to newer equipment, which stands to reason. But good solid piece of equipment. I still have my printout of the original auction listing. I have the several pictures of it, and it was a gray color. It was the lighter gray that you can still see on here. So I'm hoping I can find out a little bit more of the history of it before then, and any other information that I can come across for it. But I'm excited to have it here. We'll get to it, get it running eventually, and that's pretty much what I got for you. 10 horse motor, height from floor to table once it's set, and it's 36 inches. 1800 RPM motor. Weight of it is 8,700 pounds, is what they listed as, what Rockford listed as, without the motor on it. So we're pushing 9,000 pounds. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a little bit of information. Enjoy the time lapse of unloading it. And any questions you've got for me about it, give me a yell. I'll tell you what I think I know. But yeah, going to be cool. You see a lot of guys restoring older planers as they come across them. There's a couple restorations going on now, or one restoration that I've followed a little bit going on. But it's a much older belt-driven planer. Don't see too many planers out there. There's a few of them floating around. Usually they're a bigger planer. See a fair amount of larger shapers. And at one point I was looking for a larger, probably Cincinnati shaper, something like that. Hadn't run across one, don't necessarily need one. This is one that we've got more money invested moving it around than I have in the original planer. We got a really, really good buy for it. I probably would have given quite a bit more for it than what I had to give. We're going to unload the planer today, and I'm going to just set the camera up and let it run probably in I got wasps flying around out here too. Probably on time-lapse mode, and we're going to see if we can unload this. So here let's see, what time is it now? It's a little after 10 in the morning. It's already gotten hot as can be out here. But this is our Rockford planer, and the plan is I've got the trailer locked up with a couple of jack stands. We're going to lower this ramp back down and support it so that it comes pretty much parallel with the bed of the trailer for right now. We're going to work this trailer up on some beams. We've got it on a couple of skids right now. We're going to get it a little bit higher and get some fresh beams underneath it, and at least 3 of them and maybe 4. And then we're going to get it on some rollers, and we're going to ease it on back, and when we start taking a little weight onto the ramp, we're going to make sure we've got it supported, and we'll slowly lower it down, and then we'll roll this planer right on off. Now when we loaded it, I put it on a couple of timbers that I'd set up for it, and we winched it up on there, had my electric winch, and had a pretty good plan, but this planer ends up being quite a bit heavier than what I had originally thought. comments or suggestions, leave them for me. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. And thanks for taking the time to watch.